Phygital is itself a play of words between the words physical and digital, and it explores the processes of groups of people engaging in do-it-yourself DIY activities through access to digital fabrication tools in community-centered makerspaces. In its separate iteration, Phygital Project is informed by how commons-orientated collective making approaches relate to social art practices. And it has taken a physical dimension in the form of a makerspace hosted in the premises of the La Cadamna Community Center and through a series of pilot prototypes, which were produced through a series of makeathons, workshops, community events produced by the La Cadamna municipality, and through a parallel events program by the University of Nicosia Research Foundation, which included an unconference, a series of thematic workshops, and an international exhibition together with a parallel public programming. The unconference Free Libre Technologies Arts in the Commons took place at the University of Nicosia at the end of May of 2019. The unconference was the initial idea of Christaleni Loizidou, and it was subsequently shaped together with myself, Evanthia Tselika, and a scientific committee that included scholars, activists, and artists. The unconference included both a series of lectures by invited participants such as Silvia Federici, Richard Matthew Stallman, Gregory Cholette, Luis Guillermo Vergara, Jochen Sordenberg, and so forth, and a day where the participants were invited to work in an open format together by forming working clusters and through hosting general assemblies both at the start and at the end of the day. The unconference explored the notions of community and the commons so as to consider the wider social context and theory that has influenced both the rise of the social art method of practice as well as the formation of the free and open source software movement. These threads were interwoven in order to reflect on increasing debates around makerspace cultures and the politics of making, on the commons in times of digital realisms, and bottom-up collaborative structures of making, as well as on how we think of commoning practices in relation to social art and free technologies.
It's really the extraction of minerals that have served to produce the new forms of industrialization, to produce, in fact, by the very digital instrument, the very digital equipment that we now have to use every day, are providing for many for the reconstitution of new communal relations.
These workshops were thematic in approach and were carried out so as to support the overall development of the project. They included workshops about makerspaces and hackerspaces and how they operate in our contemporary capitalist environment. Workshops which focused on design-led approaches to social practices, as well as design thinking and craft making and its relationship to open technologies and digital fabrication tools. The workshops also included material that was explored about open technologies, free and open software movement, gender, and how this is related to the commons as well as activist practices. More practical in nature workshops included digital fabrication for the stage, as well as a collaboration with the handicraft service and making together with traditional craftspeople. The exhibition Sickle and Code was hosted at the Museum of History and Cultural Heritage of Lacadamna and was curated by Peter Aramian, Elena Barpa, and Avanthia Tselika. Presenting the Phygital pilot prototypes, together with artworks by international and Cypriot artists, in a museum, which is a space already loaded with objects and narratives, became a way to explore practices that move between the material and the digital, melding older forms of making and co-producing with current methods of fabrication and contemporary notions around the communal, collective, and collaborative making. The prototypes include creating an ocean ecological monitoring tool, the underwater glider for the Cyprus waters by Ahsan Abdi, making ceramic production tools more accessible via pottery wheel reinvented by Kostas Tsangaridis, creating tools to ease the digital fabrication process, such as in the case of the robotic arm produced by Odysseas Ikonomidis, experimenting with algorithms and movement sensors in LED matrix by Haris Harilau, and recreating the mesh worm by Maria Dumazu as part of her artistic process and research. The Cypriot international artists, together with the prototypes created in the Lacadamna makerspace, were presented in parallel with a year-long public program that included makeathons, hackathons, and educational workshops for children. The participating artists included Maria Andreou, Raisa Angeli, Adonis Archondidis, Helen Black and Yannis Kolakidis, Zach Blas, Jenny Dunn, Nihal Faisal, Veronica Georgiou, Olga Mizinchka, Bahar Nurizadeh, Angelo Plesas, Tabitha Rezer, Elena Savidu, and Emilio Vasquez. Museum of History and Cultural Heritage of Lacadamna, itself a community-made museum, we see practices of making and crafting of the past, together with the prototypes made as part of the Phygital Cyprus project. Pilot prototypes that were made using digital fabrication processes in a community makerspace made collectively. We hope that through this process, thoughts around the idea of sharing knowledge of past and contemporary making practices and learning together have come to attention, and that we continue to make together, to share knowledge, to learn and to exchange.